Hello there. You might be wondering what I'm doing out here. Well, this is my melon patch. This is most of my melons, not all of them. There's a few more watermelons further down. And I know it's in portrait. Might make a short out of it. It's a pain if they're not in portrait already. So what am I doing? Well, this top row, for the exception of the one where that cat's at, are all the same watermelon, Florida Giants. I didn't grow them from seed. In fact, I picked them up at the greenhouse. However, at the time of picking them up, they were the only larger, mature vines at the greenhouse. All the other varieties had literally just been sprouted, and I looked at that and went, well, I got seed, I can sprout my own, and they will not be that far behind what they have. Why would I buy varieties I've already got seed for? But I didn't have seed for these Florida Giants. Now, I've got some zip ties, and you may be wondering what I've got these zip ties for. Well, these Florida Giants, as I established already, they were the earliest. They were started the earliest, and as such, they bloomed before any of these other watermelons began blooming. And the biggest ones, as you can see, on these vines were pollinated before any of these other watermelons had blooms on them. So I know I can collect seed off of these larger watermelons without any fear of cross-pollination, which I'm actually fine of cross-pollination, and I would actually like to maybe one or two of these varieties attempt to cross them, because I've got a whole bunch of different varieties all in this same spot. I don't care too much about the crossing in terms of, well, I want to harvest seed off of this variety and that variety. I mainly look at it as a test. What performs the best here? And I am starting them on tarps. And eventually they will get big enough. They've been trying to do it already, and I keep turning them back onto the tarps. But eventually they'll get big enough that they'll just take over around the tarps. But for now, I've been keeping them on the tarps for the most part. And it's interesting because you can tell the difference between these Florida Giants, which tend to have these littler leaves, versus this one here. That's a blue Klondike there. And you can see the difference. Kind of reminds me of a fig leaf in a weird way. But that's the only blue Klondike I've got. Just like that spot up there is the only baby doll hybrid that I have. And more have actually sprouted since planting the little 6-pack that I started, and I only had one to start. More seeds have come up since planting them in the ground. But these are flowering, these other varieties, as you can see. Which of course means cross-pollination, which means hybrids, which is pretty fun. I've got my own hybrid peppers, and I like it. You know, it's something you look at and go, well, I did that. It didn't exist before I did that. And as long as I keep it going, it will exist. And if it's popular, it will exist long after I'm gone. But yeah, they're really sprawling out. And hopefully, they'll ripen off before the cold hits. It's been kind of weird. We've had such a mild year. Typically it jumps from winter to summer is what we've been experiencing. This year we actually had a nice, decent, long spring. We typically don't have that. And I just mowed out here and the grass is already growing up. But we're going to take and zip tie these bad boys. Right there is the stem for this watermelon. And we're going to put a zip tie around that stem and we're going to leave it. And you don't want to go tight. I'm sure everybody already knows, but in case you don't know, this watermelon is still in the growing phase. And so what will happen is, as it grows, the vine grows. And if you make it too small or too tight of a zip, you could potentially harm and stunt the growth of the watermelon because you're harming the vine that's feeding the watermelon. So we want to stay loose with these. And now the fun part is trying to do this one-handed, of course. But there we go. I'm sure y'all heard that click off. And we're going to leave it that big. It's not coming off. It's going to stay on there. And we will know that watermelon, well, we're fuzzy now, there we go. And we'll know that watermelon should be good for collecting seed off of. Now I have some other ones in here that are going to be a little bit harder to reach. Got a big one there. This is Dollar Tree tarps. If you didn't know, Dollar Tree has tarps. And they are not that great, as one would expect. These tarps are Harbor Freight tarps. And they actually kill the weeds under them in the summer. They don't let enough light through for the weeds to grow under them. And then, of course, whenever they get old, you just pull them up, put new ones down. Or you can go professional like my uncle does and actually buy the right material that they market and sell for growing on top of, where you actually use a torch to cut it and everything. I use a torch to pop these holes, but you don't have to on this. It's so thin, you can cut it with your trowel or whatever you're using. So I'm gonna get that big boy there, as you can see. And there's another one over there, if you can see him, that I'm gonna get. But thanks for watching, and if you didn't know about doing zip ties for your isolated seeds or for crosses, it's a great way to keep track of what has been crossed while still letting the fruit, vegetable, whatever it is, letting that actually grow out properly without interfering with it, as long as you put the zip tie on there correctly. So that's about it for me. I'm going to finish doing these couple of watermelons and I'm going to head on back inside.